Usually my modelling videos focus on my railway layout, but my latest project is something a bit different, a scale model truck kit. And in this video I want to focus on one aspect of the build, the wooden floor of the dropside back, getting as realistic a render of the oak planking as possible. We meet my build, a 1/24 scale Bedford O series dropside truck, about halfway through, with engine and chassis pretty much done, and base of the dropside back constructed, ready for painting. The model on the box shows a pretty flat mid-brown surface, our instructions confirming that's a Humbrol enamel 110, apparently natural wood. But we can immediately see just from my tabletop that's far from realistic, and even though our plastic has a nicely moulded grain, we ought to be able to do better. So now I want to share how I went about getting exactly that, using a bunch of paint techniques to build up a much more realistic surface, even incorporating a couple of happy accidents along the way, until we've got something that really looks the part. First of all, we've got to prepare our surface, starting with a thin coat of primer, and I'm using my airbrush as I don't want to risk losing any of those fine details, like the tiny hinges, which had to be glued into place one by one. Then I want to mask off all the bits other than the floor, even though they're going to be painted later, ensuring a completely flat surface, with no ridges left behind from overlapping paint when building up the layers for the floor. My range of Tamiya tape widths makes short work of this, the wider stuff being ideal for the planking at the end, also with enough to fold under to prevent too much overspray onto the underside. The only tricky bit is getting round those hinges, particularly at the back, where we want a nice clean edge along the ends of the planks. So I'm just popping in an extra bit of the narrower stuff to get them completely enclosed, pushing the tape in and around the contours. Then, with everything adequately masked, we can get on with the first paint application. Now the thing about wood is it's not really brown at all. You only have to go to your timber yard or check out some scaffolding planks to see it's more of a creamy grey, shot through with the darker grain. But I am going to start out by underpainting with some brown, a Humbrol 186, slightly darker than the supposedly natural 110. Mostly because it's the one I had in my box, and this I want to thin down for airbrushing, at a ratio of roughly 50-50. This is made much easier with my little glass jars, as I can eyeball the depth of both thinner and paint. But even so, I want to add the thinners gradually, using my little pipette, rather than pouring it all in at once. Then I can stir well and check the consistency, for which I'm looking for a kind of thin milk, like a semi-skimmed, which actually didn't use all the thinners that I'd poured out. But for this job, I want to go slightly thinner, so I'm adding a couple of extra drops, stirring in thoroughly. Now it's time to load up the airbrush, pouring in my diluted enamel, and with a quick test spray on a piece of glossy paper, we can embark on the bed of our truck. Usually when airbrushing, we want to get everything as even as possible, but here if anything the opposite applies. We do want to get a reasonable overall coverage, but a bit of patchiness actually works to our advantage, reflecting the unevenness of colour when we come to the planks, which will start to separate in the next stage. But for now it's just a case of building up the thin layers of paint, getting into all the nooks and crannies, adding more of our paint mix as required. Neither my airbrush or compressor are anything fancy, and here we come to one of my happy accidents. As a little bit of moisture from the air feed has spattered along with the paint, you can just about see the droplets between two of the planks towards the back. We'll see later what effect they had. I've since added a moisture trap to my kit, so hopefully on my usual spraying it won't happen again. But in this case a bit of randomness is all to the good, and just finishing up by spraying lengthways along the planks completes my generally good but intentionally slightly patchy surface, with a slight variety of paint thickness, the thinner parts showing a little more of the primer below. Then it's time to let everything dry thoroughly and clean up, wiping out as much of the paint as possible with a dry kitchen towel before adding any solvents, again wiping out what we can before spraying through the rest, a finger over the nozzle forcing the solvent back through to the reservoir where we can clean away even more, finishing up with a final blast, just with a tiny bit of solvent to make sure everything is completely clean. Underpainting of the entire floor done, it's time to look at the individual planks, masking off each alternate one so I can pay particular attention to the ones in between. Fortunately, my 6mm tape exactly matches the plank width on the moulding, so all I need to do is get it straight, and even then total precision isn't really necessary, so the job doesn't take long. And with the ends crisply folded and tucked underneath, we can go on to our second piece of tape, skipping the plank in between, the one that we're going to be painting. This is very much a two-stage process, as when the exposed ones from this time round have all been painted, they too will be masked off, and the others revealed, so each one gets the same amount of treatment, albeit different in tone and colour for each individual plank. So ultimately we'll get a unified, but subtly modulated surface, picking out each of the planks for a much more realistic effect, which hopefully will be a great improvement on the flat paint shown on the box art. Masking done, on with the painting, which is going to be a thin coat of grey, actually a range of greys, which I happen to have left over from some airliner kits that I made several years ago, each one very slightly different from the others. The particular colours don't actually matter that much, so it's really a case of using what you've got, and I'm starting with my Airbus Industries one, the warmest of the three. Tonally, all are about the same, and being pale, they're going to make our planks quite a bit lighter, but obviously this one is going to need a good stir first. I'm using enamels, mainly because that's what's in my modelling paint box, but we'll come on to see there's a good reason for this choice, as I'll be using some acrylic washes, which won't affect my solvent-based underpainting, but you could easily do it the other way round, acrylics first, with an enamel wash on top. For this coat, I'm going even thinner than before, increasing the ratio of solvent to paint, gradually adding a little bit more, stirring in well to an even consistency, more like a skimmed milk, or even slightly thinner than that. Then it's into the reservoir of my airbrush, ready for spraying. The trick here is to go slowly, as we want to very gradually build up layers of thin paint, working lengthways along each plank, varying the density as we go, either by the speed of the stroke or amount of trigger for the paint flow. And obviously the more layers we've got, the paler the plank, with less of the brown underpainting showing through. What we're looking for is a variety of coverage, not only plank to plank, but also a variation along each one, with lighter, greyer bits, and darker areas with more of the brown showing through. Here you can see where my underpainting got slightly spattered, leaving some spots on the surface, further accentuated by my overspraying, but I'm actually pretty pleased with the effect, lending to the used look of what is after all an organic material, which will stain and weather with exposure to the elements and the rough and tumble of everyday use as a working vehicle. We can also consider how different areas of the floor are going to be more worn than others, particularly the central planks and the area by the tailgate. But like the rest of the model, I'm going for a used but well looked after look, a truck that's perhaps not that old and kept clean and in good condition by its crew. So I'm going to go easy on the weathering and hold it there. It might not look much, but peeling up a bit of masking, we can see there's quite a difference. When all of that is thoroughly dry, we can remove the tape and in turn mask off the bits we've already painted using our 6mm tape again. If our model wasn't quite so conveniently proportioned, we could always use 2 bits of tape overlapping along the length, or for narrower planks, lay down a strip of tape along the grid of our cutting mat and slice it to the width we want with scalpel and straight edge. But other than some of the corners, our job is much more straightforward, and with the entire floor taped up, leaving just the planks for phase 2 exposed, we can get on with the next bit of painting, in much the same way. This time I'm going to use my other greys, a slightly paler Scandinavian Air Service one, and a Boeing grey, BAC 707. The first of these I've diluted to the same consistency as before. I'm not suggesting you dash out and buy these exact colours, pretty much any pale grey will do, so have a route round your paint box for 3 or even 4 that are slightly different from each other, some warmer, some cooler, just to give us some variety of hue, which along with the paint thickness will make each plank stand out from the rest. Our third colour can even combine with the second for even greater variety by spraying it over the top, so for some of the planks I'm giving them a half coat, which I'll finish off later. And with a good proportion done with the SAS grey, either finished planks or half done ones, I'm going to switch to the Boeing grey, which also, having not been opened for several years, is going to need a thorough stir before thinning and adding to the airbrush. Then we can paint the remaining planks, the ones that haven't yet received any attention, and finishing off the half done ones. The only slight problem here is we obviously can't see the ones we painted in the first round, so we're going to have to estimate how far we should take it for the overall effect. We do want to pick out the individual planks, but we don't want it to end up looking stripy like a zebra, with 2 obviously alternating colours. But peeling back the ends of one of the strips we can have a quick peep, and it looks like we've got it just about right. When all of that is thoroughly dry, we can come to the great unmasking, ready for the next step. Overall the planks are looking good, and we've got a nice variety of colour and tone. There are 1 or 2 places where the masking wasn't completely accurately aligned, But like our water spots, we can play that to our advantage, and it's in this next phase that we really want to accentuate the texture with some washes. This technique is relatively new to me, so I'm very much learning on the job, and I've got myself a couple of acrylic washes. Then, with some waterborne thinners poured into one of my little glass jars, it's time to get to work. The idea here, as the name suggests, is to apply a thin wash over my paintwork, which heavily diluted with my thinners will seep in and along the wood grain. So I've got two brushes, the larger white one for applying the thinners and a finer one for the wash itself, helping avoid cross-contamination. We start by brushing on some of the thinners, then the pigmented wash onto the wet surface, which will run into and along the plank lines and the moulded grain of the wood. As my underpainting was done with enamels, the water-based wash has no effect on the paint below, instead just settling on the surface, naturally drawn to the indents of the moulding, accentuating the texture. Once again, the trick is to build up gradually, wiping any excess off the brush and feathering the edges of the effect, brushing on more thinners to smooth everything in. As well as picking out the grain, I've also allowed the wash to build up in certain areas, particularly at the ends of the planks, where they could well be darker through water damage, and likewise the plank lines, adding even more of the wash, removing any excess and feathering in the edges again, taking advantage of any interesting bits as they arise to add even more naturalism. Then going plank to plank, working on the entire length of each one. That's my first 5, pretty much done. 9 more to go. As well as adding a dark wash, we can also add some light areas, and this is going to be particularly good for some of those areas where my masking wasn't that great. The process is exactly the same, acrylic thinners on first, and then the wash applied to where we want it and allowed to spread naturally, softening those hard edges, and then feathered in with a clean brush, removing the excess until it blends in with the plank. Now I want to take a look at what I'm calling Happy Accident Corner, where my underpainting was affected by the moisture during spraying, leaving a patchy area at the end. I like that it looks like the plank has been worn unevenly, perhaps bashed during unloading, but we do need to blend it in, for which my light wash is ideal, softening the transition with the rest of the plank. I can also do the same where the water droplets were, that plank also having fallen foul of some non-specific incident. Then we can go back in again with the dark wash, re-establishing any plank lines we've lost, blending again with a clean brush, and a bit more thinness if required. And that, I think, is my planking done. The patchy brown underpainting, the layers of grey, and the acrylic wash, combining to give us a nice natural look, of wood that's been bleached by the sun, soaked in the rain, and bashed about a bit in daily use. So let's get it finished off and onto the truck, carefully peeling away the masking tape, taking care of those tiny hinges, once again revealing the primer, unaffected by the layers of paint that built up during the spraying of the planks. Then it's time to mask our freshly painted floor in turn, to spray the bodywork, pushing the tape into the edges of the side planks, into the corners, and along the back edge, filling in all the gaps in between. Then by video magic, here's the finished thing, with a coat of crimson, contrasting nicely with our oak planks, the gloss looking great against the more natural wood, with all its irregularities. And that's it, at least for this part of the build, although I'm sure I'll be posting some more from this project, as well as more scale and railway modelling. So if you're interested, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.